Hustle unlocked. I'm a school teacher. Damn, shorty. Sheesh. Man, I gotta get up out these school kids trying to take me down. The substitute that got fired over TikTok.
Just when you think influencer culture can't get worse, a TikToker turned substitute teacher proves us all wrong. We're going to break down this viral, horrifying story about a substitute teacher turned influencer behaving in extremely creepy ways and finding out the consequences of those actions and so much more. On today's episode of the Brad vs. Everyone podcast, my daily show where I take on all the craziest ideas from across the internet and social media, all from an independent political perspective. Guys, hope you all had a great weekend. I did, visiting friends out in DC, and I'm back and ready to get going again. And unfortunately, we have a doozy on our hands because there has been this huge discourse all over TikTok about this one sort of wannabe influencer who apparently also substitute teaches and engaged in some of the most diabolically 2025 behavior imaginable, vlogging their day as a substitute teacher as part of their influencer shtick, and then behaving in insanely inappropriate and unprofessional ways in the process to the point where they got fired. Let's take a look at this person's video.
Hustle unlocked. I'm a school teacher now. Little brothers. Let's get the day rolling. Who would have ever thought? Yes, ma'am. Have a good day. Today was really a breeze. My kids ain't have to do too much, man. To be honest, I let them do whatever they want to do. Yes, I'm that type of teacher. Took me a little lunch break. Yeah, they got it going on at this junk. They stay bound. Okay, then. Damn, shorty. Sheesh. Man, I gotta get up out these school kids trying to take me down, man. Then I look so young. I look like one of them. Appreciate it. You know, my little free time, I had to go out there and give me some little content, little fit check. Really just a chill fit today. Cause y'all know if it was up to me, I would have been rough and head to toe. Yeah, I know I ain't lying. But they did have a pep rally and came clutch. And that was the typical day.
I feel like I need a shower after watching that. I feel dirty because I feel like we've just witnessed a crime, multiple crimes, most likely broadcast on the internet. But everything about this makes me want to pull my hair out. Why are you eating Skittles for breakfast, ma'am? Aren't you supposed to be an adult? And then she seemed to think it was cute or funny when they said oh, you look like a student. They were insulting you. They were telling you that you don't look professional. The attire, the wardrobe, the presentation isn't giving teacher at all. That was what they were communicating to you with that. And in fact, I mean, I guess at this point, I think they're really desperate for substitute teachers. So they got to take anybody they can get. Apparently not even doing some minimum vetting of this person. But yeah, you should not be dressing like that in school. And we haven't even gotten to, there's the big problem, of course, I'm going to touch on in just a moment. But first, though, a couple other things. Why are you just letting them do whatever they want all day and bragging about it? What's the point of you if you're not going to actually have them do the assignments? You're failing to do just the basic job of a substitute teacher, which is not hard, and you're still failing. And I'm sorry, but can this person read? Listening to them doesn't make me think they can read. I'm just being so honest. There should probably be some minimum levels of literacy, even for a substitute teacher. And maybe that's why she didn't make them do the assignment. She couldn't read the sheet. The disrespect of putting your feet up on the teacher's desk, vlogging this whole thing instead of just focusing on being a professional. And then we get to the big doozy. The part of this that is so creepy and so inappropriate that did get this person fired when she records the teenage girl students walking by as part of whatever activity they had going on in the school that day. Nothing wrong with her watching it, of course, but recording it, instantly inappropriate. You don't record kids and post them on your TikTok without parents' permission. Really, like, I guess there's some school purposes for which you could get a form signed, you can record them and release the images on the school website or school social media. But for you as a teacher to be filming students who aren't even your students, but even don't film your own students, is weird and very inappropriate and absolutely a fireable offense to be doing that without parental permission. And then we get to the part where she's suggested that, like, what did she say? Damn shoddy about the 16-year-old girl walking by? These kids are going to get me in trouble? Something to that effect? I mean, the only reason this person isn't arrested is because it's a woman. I think if you have a male teacher do that, you might see them walk out of there in handcuffs, right? But regardless, so inappropriate and creepy. What are you doing? Yeah. This person should never be allowed within 1,000 feet of a school again. And thankfully, for once, the internet seemed to get it. Literally everyone on TikTok was against this woman and explaining how inappropriate and unprofessional this was. And it does kind of show to me, like, the downside of influencer culture. Everyone's a wannabe influencer, right? This person has like an Instagram account and a TikTok and is trying to be a personality. Here's what I did in a day. The downside of that is in some cases, you're just like owning yourself, because if this person hadn't posted all the evidence against them to their own feed, they probably wouldn't have gotten in any trouble. So in this case, it's a good thing, right? Sunlight, accountability, disinfectant, yada, 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 all that. But yeah, I'm very glad this person is fired from being a substitute teacher. I don't know, maybe there's more they could do to vet these people before letting them in a school, but this is absolutely insane behavior. Thankfully, though, she's internalizing the criticism, owning up to her mistakes, and just kidding. You knew I was lying to you. We're going to listen to this person's apology video, kind of, sort of, not really. But first, do make sure to subscribe, like, comment, yada, yada, yada. Send in your voicemails for my Voicemail Friday episodes where I react to your woke horror stories, give you advice on your personal lives, and answer any questions you guys have for me. The link to send in one of those is, as always, in the description. Now, let's listen to this woman's video explaining herself and, of course, plugging a GoFundMe.
I'm pretty sure by now y'all know my face. The substitute that got fired over TikTok. Before I do get started, I do once again want to apologize to the young ladies in the video and their parents. The consistent backlash is sick. A lot of people keep on saying, get her from around the kids, keep her from around the kids. Man, I'm actually a great person to have around your kids. You get what I'm saying?
No, not a great person to have around my kids. Disagree. And like all of this, fired over a TikTok, it's a little more than that. It's a little more than just a TikTok that got you fired there, babe. And two, the nonstop backlash is sick. Know what's sick is recording and sexualizing minors while you're a substitute teacher. That's actually what's sick, girl. Wow.
You get what I'm saying? Great mentor. Head always been on straight. Never been a loose screw. You get what I'm saying? Do not let the tattoos fool you. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all clearly mischaracterizing me.
First off, no one cares about your tattoos. That's not what this is about. You're just deflecting. And no one is mischaracterizing you. You uploaded footage of yourself.
Young adult, went to college, played ball, active sports. Grades always been A1. Like, what y'all saying don't fit me, baby. I see how it may come across, but I'm not that freaky to be sitting up talking about kids like that. Like, genuinely, like, it just sick. I'm not an over-sexualized person. Like, I don't even do that with adults. I'm not going to do that with kids, and let alone put that on my platforms. If my intentions were sick like that, why would I broadcast it across my page when I know I'm a content creator?
Because you're stupid. She's trying to use the defense of, you really thought I was being creepy towards those kids? If I was, why would I upload that on my page? Because you're not bright. That's why. Don't tell us you weren't sexualizing these minors when you're on camera saying, dang, shoddy, and saying these kids are going to get you in trouble up here. No, gaslighter. She is gaslighting us at this point with that level of denial. Diabolical, really.
That really don't make sense to me. It's like y'all think people don't make mistakes. Posted, I have not only lost that job, but I've lost my main job as a DSP, direct support professional. I did start a GoFundMe, but I really didn't want to start a GoFundMe because I really don't want the free money. So I would just, man, if you would like to help, because I have lost everything, man, I got a link. I have my clothing brand, man. If you can just buy anything, I hand make all my merch.
This girl actually just plugged her merch. In her apology video, after getting fired for behaving inappropriately towards minors, she plugged her merch in her GoFundMe. Bring on the floods. Tell Noah, get the ark. We might be cooked. This is the society that we are creating, by the way, with more of these wannabe influencer types, with all the incentives being towards rage baiting and no accountability or growth. It's just going to keep getting worse. And I think we all need to come together and say that, like, the influencer scourge is one thing, but we got to keep them out of the schools. If you have well, that's the other thing, too. There's an argument this woman never should have been allowed to become a substitute teacher in the first place because she has vocal, like, not huge followings, but not public pages where she's posting content, some of which is highly sexualized, some of which has her, like, walking around with strap-ons and all sorts of stuff. I kind of think you should have to choose between being a adult targeted influencer and working in a school. Call me crazy, call me conservative, call me old-fashioned, whatever you will. I don't know. That seems kind of reasonable to me. But what do you guys think? To me, this story is just peak 2025 and just shows how ridiculous everything has become. But thankfully, at least the internet did seem to be on the right side of this one, and most people were against this woman. I would love to find the people who donated to this girl's GoFundMe, because they belong in a padded room and on a list somewhere to keep them away from schools. I don't know who's. Imagine seeing everything I've just shown you, and these are all videos from her page that she chose to upload. Nobody's mischaracterizing you, babe. Like, the receipts are your own public posts, and people saw that and decided, I got to give her money, got to support, free my girl. What is going on? I genuinely don't know. Y'all let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure you're subscribed, like, yada, yada, yeah. Up next, we're going to check in on the world of political podcasts, and not the cool ones, not the ones with amazing, wonderful hosts like the Bread versus Everyone podcast on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, yada, yada, yada. But no, the cringeworthy ones, including Gavin Newsom, and he is publishing his own podcast, but he's also doing a podcast tour and setting himself up. It's very clear he's going to run for president in 2028, the governor of California, and he is saying some interesting things on the podcasting circuit. Let's listen to this clip of him on an NBA-focused podcast, I believe, that's going viral, where he plays the race card in an unfortunate way. Let's listen.
I can't take what's going on. I mean, no bullshit. I can't take it. Every single day, every single hour. And it's not even about Dems versus Republicans, about this country and what we stand for, man. They're literally putting America in reverse. I mean, quite literally, to a pre-1960s world. You got the Supreme Court talking about getting rid of the Voting Rights Act. And that's very real. Yeah. That may likely happen in just a matter of months. I mean, they're rewriting history, censoring historical facts. It's an unbelievable moment. All this anti-woke stuff is just anti-black. Mm-hmm. Period, full stop. All the CRT, ESG, DEI stuff, that's all this is. Mm-hmm. It's this great purge, and it's happening in real time. And I'm sitting here, and I feel like, luckily I'm governor, but like, we're not doing enough. Right. We're not calling this out. We're not drawing a line here. And again, it's not about Democrats or Republicans. It's about who we've
Right and wrong,
man. Yeah,
right
it's
and
right
wrong.
and goddamn wrong. Daylight and darkness.
I feel like anytime you want to make it harder to vote, that means you can't stand and win with your policy. Anytime you want to make it tougher for people to have access to what our rights are, you can't stand on what your policy is.
You hear that, guys? If you think people should have to show an ID to vote, think we should have basic election security in different ways, you must just be insecure. You must just know your ideas are unpopular. You don't want people to vote. No, we actually just want only people who are allowed to vote to vote. Crazy thought. We just want basic. A lot of this stuff is common sense, but I don't want to go after this host too much. I don't even know who he is, and he's clearly stepping outside of his usual lane a little bit here. My main criticisms here are for Gavin Newsom, because this man is the biggest snake oil salesman chameleon I have ever seen. Just a couple months ago, he was having conservatives and Republicans on his own podcast and making fun of the hyper woke stuff and saying, yeah, I do think it's unfair to be have trans women in women's sports. And I do, Latinx. Whoever said Latinx? Of course, he said it hundreds of times because it's all fake. He is the most obvious chameleon I have ever seen. It's actually, politically impressive, because when you can adopt literally any position at any time, and when you have no at all mooring principles or beliefs other than whatever is most expedient to getting you in power at that moment, that gives you a degree of flexibility that is certainly useful in an electoral connotation or context. We saw this with Trump to some extent. He has a few issues where he's diehard, immigration, trade, a few other things. And then on a lot of the other stuff, he's just done 180s and gone along with what he needed to do to get ahead or to get Republican buy-in or what have you. At one point he was a big pro-choice person. Then he became the pro-life president. You understand what I'm saying? He has that level of flexibility on some things. For Gavin, it appears to be everything. I don't know. And for him to say anti-woke is just anti-black is so ridiculous. It is not anti-black to not want this hyper-identity obsessed, virtue signaling, reverse discriminatory culture and policies in terms of affirmative action and even the highest levels of our federal government. Biden openly selecting his nominees because of their race and gender. Biden explicitly trying to condition federal programs on the basis of race, having blacks only funding programs. Yeah, it doesn't make you anti-black to not like that. In fact, huge swaths of minorities in America are against this kind of thing. Now, you can absolutely agree, and I do agree, that a portion of the woke backlash or some of the anti-woke people have also just descended into racism. If you go on X, you will see this regularly. That can be true without painting a brush that anybody who's against ESG is anti-black. That is ridiculous. ESG is environmental and social governance scores and focus for corporations rather than the actual fiduciary duty of corporations, which is to get returns for shareholders. There's nothing anti-black about thinking that businesses should focus on returning shareholder value. That's not anti-black. That's ridiculous. You sound ridiculous, and it's so dishonest. And to say in any way, shape, or form that Trump or Republicans or the Supreme Court are going to take us back to the 1960s is absurd. The 1960s had segregated America. Gay people could not openly live their life. So many things. The rights and roles and responsibilities that women face were so different. None of that is happening. And you discredit the legitimate concerns or complaints you might have when you engage in that kind of hyperbolic rhetoric. And it's infuriating to see him just lie. I can't tell if Gavin Newsom is ignorant or just dishonest when he's talking about the Supreme Court might get rid of the Voting Rights Act. That is not true. A particular portion of the Voting Rights Act and its proper interpretation is up for a review at the Supreme Court, and they may change how it is interpreted. They're not gutting the whole Voting Rights Act, and no matter what, people of all different backgrounds and kinds are still going to be able to vote. I remember this is one of the most dishonest things that Democrats regularly do. In Georgia, a couple of years back, they had these Republican voting policies that were like electoral safety, voter ID kind of thing. And Democrats and mainstream media literally called it like Jim Crow 2.0. Like they're going to take away black people's right to vote. The very next election, I believe, there's like record levels of minority turnout. It was all bullshit. It was all just lies and hype and fear-mongering and hyperbole. And I think that's what happens here. That's what we have to put this Gavin Newsom clip into. And he really, I think he needs to decide what he's going to do, because he can't keep going back and forth and just pander to a different person every time he's in a different room. So this time he's on an NBA podcast, so he's going to pander to like racial justice. But when he's talking to a MAGA person, he'll like make fun of Latinx. It's so inauthentic. And I think if he was honest, or, well, he's not, we know that. But if he was smart, he would just stick to the progressive record, because you're never going to run away from his legacy that he has in California that is so, in so many ways, messed up. His botched handling of the pandemic, his radical transgender policies, his policies that put biological male sex offenders in women's prisons, all this kind of stuff. You can't rebrand away from a decade-long record like that. So I think he should just stick to this toxic, woke lane that he's always belonged to, but try to not be so incredibly bad faith and dishonest about it. That's my take. You guys will have to let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure you're subscribed, like, yada, yada, yada. And that'll be it for today's episode of the Brad vs. Everyone podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure to rate and review if you're listening on audio podcasts, whatever platform you listen on. And even if you're just watching us on YouTube, go spam those Apple Podcast reviews anyway, and then meet us back here, because we'll talk again real soon.